Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.
As they are on here. So we will start with the first order of business, which is to review and approve the minutes of both August 9th and then the continuation of that meeting, August 23rd. Did all the trustees have an ample opportunity to read those minutes? And are there any comments, concerns, or corrections?
I would make a motion to accept both as presented.
Thank you, Scott. And seconded by Ray. All in favor? Aye. Then we will move to reviewing the monthly warrant and approving payment of bills. Let's start, please, with the September warrant.
Okay. September warrant is in the amount of.
Oh, did it? Payroll?
Oh, yeah.
What did I say?
You said the monthly September warrant.
Then we're going to do the month of September.
Okay. So the monthly warrant for September is in the amount of $62,926.01. This is the amended one. Lori had received some bills after the warrant had gone out, so we amended it instead of doing a late warrant, which we had to do in August. So a few things on here. We have some of the payments to organizations. Some are quarterly, some are semi-annual. So some of the larger ones, the McCullough Library is on here, Parent Recreation, Park McCullough. So those are a few there. VLCT, Property and Casualty, is for insurance. That's the amount of $9,915.75. Hewlett Trucking, if anybody has questions, Norm can jump in, but basically they have been doing the trucking for Norm for equipment bought and sold. And if there's anything else that I'm missing on that, Norm can jump in. Norm had stated he's very happy with them, so we're going to keep that moving along, that relationship. Those are some of the ones that are out of the ordinary. So if anybody has any questions, otherwise, we can entertain a motion for the September warrant.
I'll move.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Sorry, I'm still studying.
Okay, so I have this here. We'll have the trustees that are in person sign this one. Like I mentioned, I'll jump to the late August warrant. We did have a few bills that needed to be paid after the August meeting and prior to this meeting. That total was $2,887.80, and nothing out of the ordinary. It was just bills that had came in after the meeting in August.
I would make a motion to accept this or to approve.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, again, I'll have that signed here. And the last warrant is the payroll warrant, titled September. Again, as the reminder, we are we have direct deposit. So this is the August payroll, and the total payroll was $11,747.19. I will make a quick note that you will see two AFLACs on there. It's just how it was billed. The first one that was paid in August is for August, and the second one was for September. And because that goes electronically, it just happened to hit the account the last day of August. So that will be, we won't have the AFLAC on for the September warrant when we pay in October.
I'll move it. Well, I have a question. The payroll, the pay data
Yes.
company.
Mm-hmm.
Why are those amounts so large?
So the ones that say ER, that is the employer withholding. The one that says EE is the employee withholding. And then the one,
It's not to pay data, but it's to.
No,
correct, they
Distribute it to the state.
correct, they collect and then go back out.
these two
okay.
small amounts are the fees.
Okay.
Yep. So for clarification for the folks on Zoom, the two amounts that are actually the fee to pay data for the two biweekly payrolls was 55.21 and 52.55. The larger amounts that Ray was asking about is the tax withholding that pay data withholds and then pays the quarterly taxes. Any other questions, or if not, we'll entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion.
Second.
Motioned and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and that's all I have for
Moving along
warrants.
there. The next thing on our agenda is the fire department. Ray, not to put you on the spot, but you so kindly met the Bennington Cooling and Heating when they were installing the heat pump. Is there an update you can provide on that?
Not much of an update. They have done their installation work
Okay,
and connected it up and filled the tank. However, it won't operate until the electrical work is done. And I will refer you to Scott about that.
Right,
Okay.
he is planning to be here.
Who's he?
This is Kim
Carpenter.
Carpenter, and they are planning to be here, not this week, but the next week.
Oh, that's quite a delay from
Well-
what we originally thought.
No, I don't believe so. He said he was going to be away this week, and he would call me at the end of this week to let me know what date he'd be coming. So
Oh.
it should be finalized by the end of next week, I'm sure.
Okay, all right. And then,
Maybe I should describe the unit.
Please.
There was a 30-gallon electric water heater in the boiler room, which is smaller than, it's a very small room in the firehouse, and it's dead, it's gone. And the fire department needs hot water for one particular purpose by law, which is to wash their face masks and equipment. So we've done a little research. We looked at, we had prices for replacing the 30-gallon electric. We had prices for putting a heat pump model in place that would harvest heat from within the building. And we looked a little bit into an on-demand water heater. Ultimately, we decided that we were best off for efficiency in the long run with the heat pump model, and that's what's been installed.
they were also going to be looking at repairing the boiler.
Yes,
Do you have an update?
they did not do that day. And we haven't heard anything. I gave them my contacts. They
Okay,
made no contact with me.
okay,
And
They were planning to come back the next day, but they had to check with Richard.
okay,
And I don't know, I looked the next morning and nobody was there, so.
well, would they know where the key is? Did you
Yes.
show them that? Okay,
they've already got
Okay.
that.
okay,
They can get in there. But perhaps a follow-up call to find out
okay,
the story.
okay.
But they did a very nice installation job.
Now, I also understand that it did not go under the stairs
Correct.
as was
It was
originally.
too tall,
Oh, okay,
correct, Ray?
Okay.
It needs room around it. And,
Okay.
So it goes on the opposite wall a little bit away from, well, about 4 feet away from the electrical lines.
okay. And it's okay being on that exterior wall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ray, what was the manufacturer of that?
Bradford White. I believe that's correct.
Yes, I believe that is correct. Okay. The other thing that was on the agenda for the fire department was they were going to talk about some new fire gear and purchasing a whole bunch of stuff under some program. I don't have information. I had asked the fire chief to write that up for all of you, so we would know all the who, what, why, how, when, and wheres. Chief Harrington asked me to postpone that, but in its place, which I sent you late, and I'm sorry for that because I just got it. So you all should have an email that says from Ed Harrington. And he is looking at asking that we approve a storage shed outside, the price of which would be $7,500. And I sent you those details. Exactly what is going to go in the shed, I don't know. And Chief Harrington was unable to come to this meeting at the last minute. So
And that's an addition to the shed that.
Yes.
Is this an imminent thing, or can we wait until we can ask questions?
We can wait till we.
I would assume we can, because I have no idea what's supposed to go in the shed or what would happen if they don't have a shed, or whether this, I don't know. I just know that the fire chief was really hoping we would say yes tonight, but I don't really personally know what I'm saying yes to.
No,
Go ahead, man.
Matthew?
Matthew, you want to speak?
I was just saying no.
Oh, okay. All right.
Do we need more than one bid to get these things done?
He did say he was unable to find a second,
Okay,
so that could
I don't know if
happen.
we're required to.
So,
Could you repeat the amount he was requesting?
7,500.
7,500?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, and you all have that now in your email.
Are we allowed to ask questions? Are we allowed to ask?
Yes.
What is the size of the shed?
I just got this and I've been in meetings all day, so let me tell you.
Do you want me to read the job details?
Yeah, if you can read
Form
it.
out a 10 by 10 by 6 cement pad and pour. Stud walls with wood 2x4 and double floor plates. Build roof structure under 2x6 rafters with strapping for metal roofing material. Use T111 plywood siding to match existing shed. Install green metal roof panels and metal trim. Paint complete shed extension to match existing shed, and install door locks provided by the chief. And that includes everything.
And it is,
10 by 10.
So 10 by 10 by 6. Oh, that's the pad, never mind. 10 by 10.
yeah. And I don't know that we have to have a zoning ruling on this, but I think it would be a good example to set to contact our zoning administrator. So.
Okay.
If anyone would like to make further comment or make any motions on these, be my guest.
I think we should defer until we have more
right.
information.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that too. Okay. Okay. Well, since this fire department discussion went less than we thought, we now have more time. So the next thing on our agenda was going to be Norm's highway and facility report. And then we were going to address all the citizens of Park Street. In this time as well, we are going to talk about the recent traffic study that was done on Water Street and Main Street. And Jim Henderson of the BCRC is here to answer any questions. I think the order that I'd like to go, since Norm has been patient, is let Norm make his report first, then we will take the citizen comments. The floor is yours, Norm.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so basically this month we've had a pretty busy month. We got all our culverts installed to meet the grants and the Clean Water Act that we have to update once a year. We have determined the next project with Jim. We've looked at them all. We're just waiting for the final bills to do paperwork. We started our fall street sweeping to try to keep leaves and junk out of our system today, and just working on general fall cleanup, getting ready for winter. We've sent out contracts to all the salt vendors to get contracts in place, and because of the state, that's being stalled again. So we're sitting in the middle of September without a grain of salt for the winter, and that's a pretty bad place to be sitting.
Is there any indication that there might be shortages or anything like that this year?
No, it's just everything's bid off the state bid, and they just, for the last couple of years, have seemed to drag their feet. We have called one of our vendors, Appalachia, and they're local, and the guy said, "Don't worry, we'll take care of it." And this is a vendor that you just pick up the phone and you say, "Hi, I'm Norm from Bennington and North Bennington," and he says, "Great, thanks, see you in a couple days," and he hangs up the phone, and it shows up like magic. That's pretty much about it. We're still waiting on our Overley Road culvert project. I haven't heard anything from the engineer. I believe that we're in the permit process phase, and they did say it would take a while. I did prepare everybody for going into next construction season. I believe that now it's inevitable that we will be moving that along till next year.
Okay. Yes, Jim Henderson.
No, this is Jim Henderson. Do you want me to check with Alan May to see if we might need an extension on that?
The Overley Road culvert, Jim, is through AOT District 1. That's a AOT grant. That has nothing to do with Alan May.
Oh, that's right. Yes. That was with the structures grant, wasn't it?
Yes.
That's correct. The only thing with Alan May is the one we did on College Road.
Yeah, I was mixing the two up. But the deadline on the structures grant, that's December 23, right?
Yes, we have all next year. I've already checked with that. And when I thought it expired this year, I'm going to turn my volume down. When I thought it expired this year, I've already met with the AOT district and talked about a possible extension, and they said it would more than likely be no problem.
All right.
The other thing is I had asked Norm about whether we had any sort of policy as a village on how to deal with trees that are on public-private property that fall into the roadway. And Norm had reached out and found a little bit of information. I then asked the tree committee, being a tree committee, maybe they knew some things. But we are looking, there's a tree law, who knew? Vermont has tree laws. And so we'll be looking and working with others and hopefully trying to emulate somebody who has a good tree policy. Perhaps Shasberry does, I don't know.
The state has determined that anything within the right of way is the property of the town.
Oh, okay.
They have complete jurisdiction over any structure in the right of way. Of course,
Okay.
the right of way varies on the size, on the type of road and all that sort of stuff. But it used to be, it could only be a tree warden.
Yeah.
I can tell you to cut it down. Tree wardens are only responsible for trees that the town planted themselves.
Okay.
Everything else within the town right of way is the jurisdiction of the town.
Okay. So we need to start looking at that. And we had started, 2 years ago, just a very small reserve for taking down trees, damaged and dead trees. And I guess my concern is with the changes that we have here and the invasives that are growing on trees. What happens if you have 7 or 8 of them that that suddenly fall down. And when there's only 2 in the highway crew, just would be nice to know and maybe have an inventory done of where the trees are that might be in jeopardy, and perhaps a longer term plan for dealing with them before they fall on someone or in a road or something else. So just yet another little project to put on our lists. So anybody that wants to help me, raise your hand.
How do we determine trees that are at risk? Just very old ones that
There
are
is a
looking ill?
possibility of doing a tree survey, and I reached out to somebody from the state, but I haven't heard back to see if maybe there's a, yes,
The state has told us that every ash tree has to come down.
okay,
Every ash tree. In fact, the state has contacted with one of the power companies, I think probably the major one in the state, has contracted with somebody to take all the ash trees down there within the right of way of the power lines. That's only one side of the street though. But that could be years before.
Yeah.
It's done.
Is that to get ahead of the dashboard? Is that when?
okay. Okay, thank you, Norm. Norm, can you stick around for this next discussion on the roads?
Yep.
Thank you.
I have
All
one
right.
question. One question for
Please.
Norm. Any ideas of how we can get that flotsam out of the dam?
To get the what out of what?
The flotsam, you know, the tree branches and stuff that are starting to gather at the dam by the firehouse.
Well, I think that would be a great training exercise for your fire department that has a water rescue team.
Not a bad idea. I'm just worried that when winter comes in, they freeze in there, then it could create a little more havoc in the spring.
I think it's a great idea for the water rescue team of the fire department to get in there and practice.
Matthew, would you so kindly take that on?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, so we now have, I assume, are all of you, other than Art, are all of you citizens of Park Street? Except, yeah. Okay. Are all of you wanting to talk about Park Street? Raise your hand.
I'll give you some papers and I'll just, you want to start now?
Yes, for a few minutes.
Okay, sure. No, I just wanted to.
And for the record, you identify?
Rebecca Wallace.
Thank you. I'm sorry. You told me your name and I've already forgotten.
It's not an easy name. I don't know if you want to see this or not. It's, so we're just very concerned because we walk every day on Park Street and around town, and we've had several encounters that are quite dangerous and disturbing, fast, people going way too fast. And so we'd love to be able to get some ideas and help on how we can do something about this. My mom actually came up with this idea, and she'd love to be able to do something herself to stop this speeding problem. We walk on the road every day, and sometimes cars come right at you. And he was saying that one day a car came so close, he thought the guy was trying to hit him. So it's just it's a really big problem for us. We don't feel safe when walking on Park Street. I actually live on Prospect Street myself, and there's a really dangerous traffic problem there with a lot of students going super fast. I'm surprised I didn't hit the gates yet. But anybody can say anything, but we'd love to get your help on this. And I know Robert's been working tirelessly on speeding issues and talking to many people. But we just want to put this in the spotlight and try to get some ideas on what we can do to help stop speeders and enforce our 25 miles per hour.
Thank you. We appreciate all of you coming out. So about a month ago, maybe a little more than that, we had Norm, myself, Jim Sullivan, Rob Novak, and a couple of other residents. We met down at the corner by Pangea to talk about traffic flow and things like that. At that time, we decided that, and we had, it was state, Norm, there was 2 guys from the state there at that meeting too. And they said that the first thing that we should do is do a traffic study so that we had data, not just supposition of things. That traffic study has been done. Jim Henderson conducted that. We do have results recently. Jim is here. I will briefly paraphrase some of these, but then Jim as expert can enlighten or correct what I'm summarizing here. If we look at Water Street, there were 36,702 cars that were clocked on there.
Over what period of time?
Over from 7/27 to 8/3.
Wow.
Jeez.
1 week.
1 week.
Yeah.
So 1 week. The average speed was 27 miles an hour. There was a 2% enforceable violations on that. And the enforcement rating is very low. As terms of there was also some interesting information on lengths of vehicles. And most of the vehicles, if I'm reading this correctly, were car length.
Right.
Yes, there are some trucks. This is a major road. It is a major road from many places. So we don't limit or have an interest, at least at this point, in limiting when trucks can go and what they can do.
What you're referring to.
Or could we?
That would be 8 to 20 feet.
Yes,
And there were 32,636 cars that were
Yes.
of that length.
of that
The
32,000.
majority of them
Yes.
are between 8 and 20 feet with typical vehicles.
On Main Street for the week, there were 50,270 cars clocked. Their average speed was 25 miles an hour. There was 1% enforceable violations during that 1 week. Again, a low enforcement rating. Now, on any one of these, you do find speeders. The highest clocked speeds were at night. And there were indeed at least one vehicle that was clocked at 70 miles an hour. Whether that's an emergency vehicle, a police car, we don't know. But
It was the same car. And it was on Main Street, it was 76 miles per hour, and on Water Street, it had slowed down to
Okay,
73
so
miles per hour. It
that,
was the same car.
the same car.
I think.
Yeah.
Same time frame anyways, that's why I'm guessing it might be the same person. It was late at night.
So while I'll get to you in just a minute, while we know there are speeding going on in the village, it does not appear from this study to be rampant or outside of a usual thing that you would expect. What we do know is that we, being a small village, we may be conflating sometimes a noise issue with a speeding issue.
We're wondering how we could take this into our own hands because we're disturbed by the speeders in Park Street. So the speed study is all well and good, but it doesn't really help us.
So the next thing we do after this is we are, and I'm not answering your question directly.
Right.
So forgive me, but I'll get to that. I just wanted you to know the next steps. The next thing we do after this, and Jim has another road that he is going to do. Would we do this study on every road in the village? No. It would not be a good use of a resource to say,
Certainly could do Park Street.
why would one be another one?
Right,
But we
right.
could do
We
that.
don't have the real data.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really need a study on our street.
Well,
We just just want to be able to know what to do about the.
But you do want to know if you have 1% problem or not.
Well, it bothered, when we're out walking on the street, on the road.
Yes,
We feel unsafe.
I totally get it.
So.
As a biker, as a runner, as a walker, I get it.
Right. That's all
But-
that matters to us.
Yes, but
We
can-
You'll have the real, the actual
So-
data.
right, and the next part of this is, it's a stepwise thing. The next part of this is that we are, and we actually have a date to do this. We are convening a joint meeting of the Planning Commission and the trustees, along with BCRC, and we will, public invited to that, we will be applying for a municipal planning grant that then says, okay, let's look at the things that we want to cover. What do we want to do with our village center? How can we make I'm losing the word here, the entrances to the village look like you're coming into a village, to make sure that people go, oh, this is a village, let's slow down. There are all kinds of things that can be done.
There's different tools for traffic calming.
Yeah.
That we've talked about, and what we would do, we would model this study that our office did in February for the village of Manchester. And they have very similar scenarios where there's a lot of pedestrian and bike traffic and significant input of traffic from Burton. And so we got a planning grant to conduct the study, and it's broken into two sections. One is all about the facts of the transportation infrastructure in the village. And we did a parking inventory, as well as where all the crosswalks are, the sidewalks, we inventoried the infrastructure. We did a survey of residents and what they felt about were the most dangerous, or did they feel comfortable driving, walking, biking. We would model after this, and there's some really good graphics in here. Our transportation planner does great graphics. The maps are all very clear and up to date, and there's suggestions that include things like speed tables, not speed bumps, but speed tables where they're wired, and they could actually serve as a crosswalk. A lot of towns use them in place of a crosswalk because they serve the purpose of looking like a crosswalk, but you have to raise up to them on a car. But they're much wider than a bump, so it's not just like boom, 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 boom. You go up on it, you drive, and then off of it. So that's the proposal, is that we would look at traffic calming tools, and then we would also look at, like they did here, the land use aspect of the village, where we inventory all the public open space, the public buildings, and there's part of the survey was, what should we do with this publicly owned infrastructure in the village? That's our idea right now. The municipal planning grants have a round coming up. The application is due in December. And this morning, Mary and Norm and Jim Sullivan and I met, and we all agreed that it would be best if the planning commission and the trustees got together, discussed the traffic report, and then formulated a plan to do an application to the for the planning grant.
And at that point, we will have the traffic results of 2 more roads.
If anybody wants to look at it.
And I have that
also
to send
sent
to
a
all of you.
PDF to Mary.
Yes,
So Mary has the digital version. If anybody wants to come through this, I'm leaving it.
okay.
Do we have a
So-
schedule on that meeting?
Yes, we do.
Wednesday?
Yes, we do. And it will be October 18th, I think. Hold on. I have not yet informed our planning
Let's see,
commission that they're gonna have
October
to,
19th. is what I
19th.
wrote down, Mary.
yes, that's it.
That's a Wednesday.
It's a
night.
Wednesday night. It'll be Wednesday at 7 o'clock here at the depot. It will be in place of the typical planning commission meeting that we'll all do. Public will be invited. It will be posted now. Okay.
Yes, my name's Paul Garrison, by the way, and I live on, actually Polygraphic Lane, but my land goes back to Park Street. 3 questions. First is the 1% and 2% traffic that you talked about
Yes.
downtown that's over and above. Sounds like a very low percentage. And I'm not quite sure what you're looking at to do down there to make people aware that they're coming into a town. I think it's pretty obvious of that to begin with. I'm not sure that's an issue based on what you said. Second of all, I would like to know the date that you would be doing your survey on Park Street. Hopefully that would be done before your October meeting so that we would have those figures in place, whether we're over 1% and 2% with people speeding there. And will that also provide the times that these individuals would be recorded as far as their speeding?
Yeah. I could probably do it, I know I can do it before the October meeting. And if you think that you'd rather be sooner than later, I'm doing a count starting tomorrow in Dorset. And I let them run for 1 full week. I'd be happy to move it over to Park Street when I'm done in Dorset.
Well, we had scheduled Houghton first, so I don't know if you don't mind.
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I would rather address the concerns of the group of people who came to the meeting and put Houghton on.
Except those people had been to a previous one.
Well, okay, well, fine by me.
Yeah.
As long, I just don't, I want to get it done before it gets too cold. In order for me to do that, I have to expose my laptop to the weather. And that's been an issue in the past. And so I would assure you I can get it done in at least the next 3 weeks.
Sounds reasonable.
How it works is it's a radar. It's a small black box that you attach to a structure. I look for a telephone pole. Typically, sometimes I've had to use a tree, but there are certain parameters. It has to be within a distance of the road. It can't be too close to the road. It can't be too far from the road, and it has to have clear sight distance. It records every vehicle. So its volume, its speed, and its length. And it does by hour, a count of by hour. And then there's a speed data analysis where it will give you what the speeds are and what time of days they were. So to answer your question, you could kind of like zero down on, where are the most frequent violators in the time of day. It works 24/7, and as I said, I try to start it and end it within a couple hours, 1 week apart. For obvious reasons, I don't always go from noon to noon. Life gets in the way, but I think it's pretty good reflection, and it's proven to help a lot of towns answer a lot of questions. Every traffic study has a different purpose. Some towns want to, increase the classification of the road. So they need to show high traffic volume. All they care about is the volume, not the speed. And another town was interested in ATV traffic. That's why the length comes in very handy. So.
The third question I had, and thank you, Jim, for that explanation, by the way. You were talking about something that's like speed bumps, but wider. Can I ask you what material it's made out of?
I think they're made out of a plastic material, but I'm not 100% sure.
Compressed plastic?
Yes, like very hard, durable plastic.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
And many of these questions can be discussed in more detail at a planning type of meeting as well. So I would invite you all we'll post everything and invite you to come back to those sessions as well. I wanted to address, Rob, I believe you had a question, then I want to go back to your question. Did you have a comment,
I have
Rob?
some comments to make when I saw the results that have been given, and I questioned them actually, because I've stood at the speed cart that you had just by the roasted bean and seen most of the people going a great deal over 25 and not slowing down. The other thing is, unless that's been changed, the speed limit that was on the sheets that engaged you was 35 miles an hour. I don't know if you changed that. So, but the speed limit in front of the library should be 25, so the number of infractions.
It does change right at that corner. You're correct.
Higher, so I think that's inaccurate. And the third thing
Jim will address that.
And the third thing is, I think, I'm just speaking for myself and other people, and with all due respect for people on Park Street and Fulton Street, I mean, the big problems, it seems to me, in North Bennington is, first of all, Bank Street, which has always been a problem. I said, I've caught people going here 50 miles an hour there, and also Main Street. So I think it's really a citywide problem. It's not one street problem. They have a problem in Newfane, they have a problem in Dorset, and of course, my opinion is the answer is enforcement, actually. That's
Okay.
but I'm just saying, I do have some questions about the report.
Okay. Jim, is there anything in particular you wanted to address there, or?
No, you're right. I had it set up right at the change of the speed limit, right near the speed limit sign. And the reason for that is because, as I pointed out, there are certain parameters that I need to address. And was not my preferred site. I would have rather have had it further down Water Street so that we could have gotten cars coming up the hill and away from the intersection of West Street. That kind of skews the data a little bit too when you're too close to another intersection. However, it's a challenge there to properly site it. And you also, if you look, the telephone poles are over the bank and they're quite a distance back from the road itself. So one thing, I agree, you bring up some good points. Another thing I wanted to let you all know is that I've been conducting traffic studies for the town of Shaftesbury, right in your neighborhood. I did one on Grandview, and I did one on Hawks Avenue. And this is in support of their feasibility study to do a sidewalk. So I'm more than happy and willing to share that data since it's literally a stone's throw from here. And I think it's relevant data for this entire discussion and traffic calming through the village. Last point to address you is you mentioned other towns that have this problem. I've come to now understand that it's quite often when a state highway is entering or leaving a village designation. And you mentioned East Dorset. That's a significant issue there near the East Dorset Village Store. Townsend, similar, Route 30. And tomorrow I'm doing a study over on Route 30 in Dorset. So it's not often the town roads that are, like the collectors. These are the arteries where people are in that mindset of gotta get to work and I'm on a state highway. And all of a sudden they go from doing 50 to 35. And you made some really good points, Robert. My last question, I would like to ask Park Street residents, given there are certain parameters that I look for that are suggested in the manual with this device. And obviously I have to have a secure place to locate it because it's, several $1,000s piece of equipment. But I also don't try to locate it near an intersection where people aren't driving there to speed. They're either speeding up because they've just entered or they're slowing down. And I also like to get it on a straightaway. not where you have a curve where people are like naturally going to slow down to go around the curve. So I look for these things and I think about what is the mindset of a driver when they're not thinking about driving. They're thinking of going to pick up their kids. They're thinking of getting to work. And when they see that straightaway and they can see a long ways, they're generally going to go faster. That's where I try to put it. So,
Got some good places in Park Street for that.
Yeah, Park Street is very straight. I'm a resident in Park Street too. Park Street is very straight, right in the middle. And
I'm familiar.
yeah, and that's typically where they get ahead of steam going, is from the park at the end, coming this way,
Coming which way?
towards town. And a lot of people will shoot up here from Water Street because they think they might get caught speeding on Water Street, so they come up Park Street and then they do a little drive strip.
It does detect direction. So when I set it up, I identify what is the approach lane and what is the receding lane. So it doesn't matter whether or not we think, oh, the speeders are coming from this direction only because the hill is going down. It will do that by each, and then my reports can break it out by each lane.
You may find outside of the Wallace Center House, might be a good spot because, well, you'll be close to residents and it's straight and it's possibly got something you can attach it to so it doesn't get taken. I'm just thinking.
Okay. Our time for this is about up, but Scott, you
I had
have
a quick question for Tim. When you were describing at the beginning how the machine worked and what it did, you used the word volume. So I'd like to know whether that was how loud it was or
No,
how many
numbers.
vehicles,
Just a
numbers.
number.
Okay, that's my only question.
Yeah.
All right, it'd be cool to have one that also measured how loud it was.
Yeah, that came up this morning in
Yeah.
our discussion as well. It truly did. Okay.
I want to go back to your question because that was part of the premise of this is what can an individual do? I personally do not feel that it would be in my wheelhouse at all to advise someone what they should do about an issue like this. However, if people thought it would be necessary, I would be happy to invite the Bennington police chief or a member of the police department here, and perhaps they could tell you. I am not at all feel like I'm comfortable encroaching on their line of work or what they do or telling people to do anything like that. But if
I would caution you, I read your plan here. I would caution you about creating a list of offenders and putting it in a public forum like Front Porch Forum, just because people are not nice and you don't want retaliation.
And that's
So I
only
would go
one
to the
opinion
police
too.
With the
Yeah.
information before you put it out into the
You gotta
public.
get the plate number.
Yeah.
Jim?
I meant to address the exact same, when I read your proposal. I did a study in Land Grove, and it was right in the center of Land Grove, very quaint, quintessential Vermont, on a dirt road, 25 miles per hour speed zone. And there was an older couple that became very obsessed with the speed. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory manner at all. I don't mean that to come across that way. They had a speed gun, and it got so bad that that the wife literally started to run down the road after cars, yelling at them, and somebody literally stopped and got out of their car. And if she wasn't an elderly woman, there probably would have been a confrontation. And there was also people who were there to witness it because it was right near the tennis club. So I would just say, I agree, word of caution, don't take it into your own hands, let the data make the appeal. And then we can post that data out on a public forum. Data's data, and it doesn't make a judgment.
Any other comments from the public before we move to our next business?
Just a quick question. Is the Bennington Police responsible for patrolling Park Street?
They do patrol the village. Yes.
Okay, so maybe it would be a good idea to have them here for that 18th meeting in October.
It probably won't happen on that meeting, but because but I would and have them come to a meeting, a trustee meeting,
Okay.
but not the planning meeting.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll put that on there.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me, Mary.
Thank you. I so appreciate your
That was
time.
great information.
It's a very good thing. And you have, those of you who have my email, let's keep in touch and we'll figure out our next steps. Okay, thank you. Okay, just a little bit behind schedule. We are now moving to the treasurer's
Do you
report.
want to, is Norm good to leave? If Norm's still on.
Yeah, Norm, you're welcome to hang out or we'll see you later.
Okay, I'll jump into my treasury report as folks are filtering out here. So if you can't hear me, I don't have a lot to report. I have sent out the cash balances, not a lot of change there. The biggest piece to inform the trustees is there was a delay in the tax billing software programming. Mary and I were on the phone with the gentleman from Nemrick for approximately 4.5 hours last week and got nowhere. And by nowhere, I mean nowhere. We did not have anything accomplished from where we started. So he has worked more over the weekend, and Mary just told me before the meeting, we believe we have tax bills ready to go now. Yes. So we are going to begin printing those, or I should say not we, I am going to be printing those out, and my goal will be to have them out in the mail by the end of this week, Monday at the absolute latest, if there's any printing problems. So that is the biggest update I have. 2 other minor ones. The credit card update that we had is all in place. So Norm and Lori have new credit cards with the amounts that we had discussed prior. So they shouldn't have any issues moving forward with purchases and things like that. Once we have the last billing cycle and we get a 0 bill, not that we carry a balance, but we have a monthly bill, obviously, for the old card. So once that is done and we'll give it a full month cycle, we'll close the old ones out because there's no reason to have 2 open. Only other update I have, the fire truck, I'm moving slowly forward with the new financing. Once I have more details, I'll fill you in. I do not have anything other than that at this point. I'll give a quick anecdote. I told Ray before, and I was telling Lori the other day, the woman who I'm working with, who finances through Bulldog, the same issue that we had with the bank saying that it wasn't voted properly, informed me that the city of Indianapolis had a $7 million fleet replacement that their bank would not finance under the exact same circumstances as ours. And they were able, this company that we're working with now was able to finance it without an issue. For some reason, she says some attorneys don't like the general language, but others don't have the issue with it. So just apples to oranges comparison, but it's not unique to us. That's all I have.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you ever so much. We're almost back on track here. I think, in fact, we are.
I even gave you a minute to spare.
Whoa, aren't you generous? On Zoom here, we have Chris Oldham from the Park McCullough House. Chris did come and address the trustees at one point in the past, asking for potential use of ARPA funds for a project. Chris is back in front of us now to update us with his project needs and his request. Chris, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. And before I get started, I have been sitting here watching the meeting since it started, and I had a little post-traumatic stress and flashbacks from the 9 years I spent on the select board. So with that said, I really appreciate the time and the energy that all of you are putting into doing this job. And I see that Scott, I sat on the select board with him. You just can't get enough. So, so I appreciate that. I know how grueling it can be, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do find myself in a position to ask you for some money. I am respectfully requesting $25,000 from the ARPA funds that were allocated to the village to support our historic carriage barn restoration and preservation project that we started a little later than we anticipated. I did submit last time that I came in front of you a sort of brief proposal and history and budget and timeline. And this project at completion, we expect to pay about $60,000. Can you all hear me okay?
We can.
Yeah, all right, I'm just getting a little bit of feedback.
So if you turn down your volume, it shouldn't reverb on you.
Oh, and my volume was way up. Okay, that's much better. Thank you, Tara. So $60,000 is what we anticipate to spend on this project. It's more than just a paint job, although that is a substantial part of it. We are having to increase our lighting, which was added into this project since we spoke. We need to add a little bit more lighting around the barn. The 4 out of 5 entrances all need work, in some cases a complete repair, and I'm talking about the wood decks that's not necessarily historic, but were added at different points, but still serve as exits and in some cases emergency exits out of the building. They need to be addressed. We've got some rotting wood issues throughout the barn. We've got some roof repairs on the slate roof that we have to address also. So, you know, the issue that we're having here at Park McCullough, being a 156-year-old mansion and carriage barn, is that over the years there has been, you know, some serious limited resources and with the lack of a director for the last 10 years, contributed to years of deferred maintenance. So that's kind of why we are in the position that we're in now, and why it's as costly as it is, because we are dealing with things that should have been dealt with sort of on an ongoing basis or even, you know, long ago. But with the past behind us, what we're trying to do at this point is not only rehab and the barn and bring it back, you know, to a safety standard and also aesthetics and preservation. But I don't know if you've noticed, but in the last 3 years, even despite COVID and despite the challenges that we have faced in, you know, tourism and the lack of private bookings, which is a large part of our income, we are determined to bring some life back into this gem. And it has been a staple of the village for quite some time, over 150 years actually. And one of the things that we are focusing on right now is being more of a community pillar for North Bennington and the areas around us, to the extent that just this year, we've had 2,000 people come and visit and take part in mansion programming, and that's not tourists. I took the amount of people that come through and do a tour from out of state out of the equation. My focus, my board's focus is bringing the community to us and reminding the community that we are a resource. How do we do that? Having a director helps, because part of my job is to beg for money to raise money, to write grants, and to follow through with, some short and long-term planning. We offer yoga twice a week. We have an author series, actually one that's coming up on Thursday night. Some of you may have participated in our Tuesday night block parties. We've got outdoor movies throughout the summer. We have concerts that are free. We had Shrek the Musical, a partnership with the Weston Playhouse, do a free programming out on the lawn. So we are really trying hard to engage the community to contribute to the quality of life. And that gets me to our budget. Something that I did not mention that I probably should have in the original proposal is when I started here in 2019, the annual budget was about $80,000. This year, our budget is $300,000. So I'm asking you to invest $25,000 in, which will be a significant help to the greater picture of what we're trying to do here. The barn itself is probably one of the major pillars of revenue for the mansion, but it's not the biggest. We rely on donors. This last year, we did raise $100,000 in our annual appeal, which just was amazing. I don't anticipate that kind of money this year because people were helping us through COVID times, but also they were really excited about the new energy that's been here and the prospects of the things that are to come. I think we're really just scratching the surface, and the house has been underutilized for so long, and it's got so much potential. And the other thing that we are doing is offering the space as often as we can to the public. The sixth grade, the village school had their graduation on the property this year. The Board of Trustees used our barn for the town meeting this year that we're happy to make an annual thing. We also work with Highland Hall Gardens, the Vermont Arts Exchange. We did an event with Lake Perrin to raise some money for both organizations. We strive to be a community partner with the other nonprofits and entities and businesses in town more than ever before. The barn is a staple, and it helps us not only bring in private booking funds, weddings and things like that, but we also use the barn for public things, and that money that we generate allows us to offer the community free activities. So with that said, the $60,000 project for the barn will give that barn a facelift and make the repairs that will give it a few more years and address some of the needs that should have been addressed a long time ago. And we are determined to make it a safer, cleaner, more impressive place. And just one last point, and I'd be happy to take some questions. We invested over $150,000 this year in the redesign of the garden, of the veranda. We spent about $40,000 on the exterior second and third floor of the south side of the mansion. We did that just last year. We also completely repaired and revamped and improved the heating system in the carriage barn so that we're now able to offer programming and activities and events 12 months a year. We purchased a vestibule that is a temporary vestibule that goes on the front to help it be a little bit more energy efficient. And we also insulated the first floor of the barn. So the ceiling of the barn, as you walk in on the main floor, that's all now insulated to the tune of about $35,000 for that heating project. So at this point, we still have a lot of work to do. I like to brag about all of the things that we've accomplished, but we still have a lot of work to do. We still have our eye on the prize. I I always get asked to, and even in when writing grants, if we don't give you the money, what will you do? And my answer is, we're going to get the job done somehow. We have to. The sustainability depends on the work that we do. The future of Park McCall depends on that. It might just take a little bit more time. With the once in a lifetime, really, this opportunity with ARPA, this actually will help us accomplish this goal, so that we're not actually doing piece by piece by piece like it's always sort of been done, or just ignored. It helps us go head into the project and get it done right and get it done quickly, and get the whole project done, as opposed to doing it piece by piece. If you come to the mansion right now, well, don't come to the mansion right now. It's creepy as hell, and I'm actually looking forward to get out of here. But if you come to the mansion and you see the work that has been started on the barn, I'd be happy to send you some before and after pictures, because the side of the barn that is facing West Street, we've started some work. So we power washed, and we applied 2 coats of paint to certain areas, and we've addressed some rotting wood where we need to. But we did that because we do have a little bit of money in that budget. We budgeted $5,000 from the donations, $30,000 from grants, and $25,000 is the hope for the ARPA fund. But right now we're just basically working on that $5,000, and it is one of our part-time employees who is executing those areas right now, and it has made a significant improvement already. So I will stop talking, and I'm glad to take any questions, but I really appreciate the opportunity to hear me out. And by the way, maybe you can take a look at Perrin Road too, for when you're talking about speeding. It's like a dirt track there.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. I will say that we had, in one of our analysis, we had, I wouldn't say earmarked, but we had noted Chris's previous request of $25,000. Mark Boudreau is here to talk about the ARPA projects for that we were looking at for the Parks and Rec, and we have some $80,000 set aside for that. So we do, in fact, we could cover some or all of this request. Trustees first. Any question from a trustee?
No, I thought that was a very thorough explanation.
I'd like to hear more about the actual restoration project itself. I didn't hear much of that, except some power washing and painting.
Oh, you.
And what are the issues that have been identified? Who identified them? Is there a consultant, architectural consultant involved?
Yeah, we work with Centerline Architects. In fact, we are in the process of undergoing an actual historic buildings assessment that will be taking place for the mansion. Actually, it'll start in the coming weeks. We've also worked with various contractors in the area, and as far as the restoration goes, power washing is just part of it, of what we've done now. It is to take the mold and things like that have been forming, but also it was part of the scraping of the paint process. The whole barn has to get repainted. There are areas of the barn that have just complete rotting wood where you can stick your finger right through the wood. The entryways are in really bad shape too, and in some cases we will be able to save them, but in certain areas we'll have to replace them altogether. In the event that we don't like to say the F word around here, the fire, but in the event that something happens in the barn and someone has to go out that back door, we are dealing with quite a liability with specifically the West Street side exits.
So that's a fire issue that you're being prompted by the fire department, the state fire.
No, we're not. We haven't been prompted by anybody. We see that as a potential issue, so we're going to address it. Yeah.
They have to. You have a certificate of occupancy, right? That they would be involved with approving periodic inspections from the state.
We do get inspected, yeah, and our fire extinguishers are inspected and so on and so forth. Yeah, we also have a catering license just recently, so we're inspected by the state health department.
Okay, yeah, okay, but on the fire safety issues, there are issues there on the carriage barn you're identifying. An exit issue, is that right?
Yeah, but I have to clarify that the issues that we see are potential, from what we understand, would be a potential hazard. We have not been flagged by an inspector. We just, see the conditions of the exits, and we recognize with contractors that this could pose an issue.
And are there? Yeah, the exits you're talking about, I've never been through, I think, but are there accessibility issues on those exits as well?
Yes.
Are you intending to deal with them? I'm not speaking specifically with our 25,000 if we give it to you, but in the program that you're laying out here for renovation and repair and restoration.
Yeah, so we're not actually making any changes to the structure. Everything will remain the same. We are accessible inside. The bathrooms are accessible. The main entrance is not accessible, and nor is the mansion for that matter. If we were to make any changes from our understanding, then we would have to address that. It is our goal at some point soon to make the front entrance of the barn accessible. It's also that would change the historic integrity of the barn to some degree. So we are working with Centerline Architects at a variety of things, and accessibility will be one of them in the near future. But this particular project is to basically repair what we have currently.
Okay. And so most of that is exterior wood replacement and refinishing.
Refinishing exterior wood, also adding lighting, which we see as a safety concern at those exits. And then there are some spots on the roof, the slate roof, that need some repair. We have a tree growing at one area. So those elements are the things that we hope to address here.
Okay. You have an overall budget that we'd be contributing to?
Yes, I submitted that with my proposal. It is $60,000 is our estimate. So we're asking for 25 of 60. Although if you've got $80,000 laying around, I'd be happy to take it.
Is that 60 for actual work, or does that include the consulting fees?
It's labor and materials.
Labor and materials.
Labor and materials, okay. And
did you have any further?
Anybody else? Other questions?
Rob had a
I
question.
just had something for review, because when I was at the meeting at the carriage barn, you're talking about the ARPA funds. I don't know what they mean. I assume they're government funds. We gave them out, I think, to the parent, and we gave some to the library, I think, yes, to the school. How much do we have left of those funds? Does it have to be spent within a certain amount of time?
No, there is plenty of time yet to spend the funds. They have to be allocated by the end of 24 and spent by the end of 26, if memory serves me. And we have I should be able to tell you from this spreadsheet. We've got, this, I'm going up with the PDF, not with this. So, we have about $180,000 left. Maybe a little bit more than that.
Right, because we have one more deposit that's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, well, this is just of the total amount
Right,
that
right.
we're allocated. Any other trustee that we have not heard from? Are trustees wishing to have more time to consider? Or is anyone willing to motion?
Mary, it's my feeling that, actually, I'm kind of surprised that we have that much left. Seems like there was a time where we were already down to about 50,000.
No, we do.
Okay,
The number that you were thinking of before, I think, was if we gave everyone everything they were
Yes.
asking for, what would be left? And that's where that old number.
So we have just in the potential earmark that has not yet been distributed, we had 50,000 for VAE. They had asked for handicapped accessibility. We had the $25,000 for the carriage barn, and that leaves about 88,000 for the village and Mark Boudreau's projects.
okay.
He's
So-
grinning.
It is my opinion that, as much as I wish that, Department McCullough had gotten to us sooner, I do believe, Chris is correct that, they're on a trajectory to really become a very important part of this village, more so than they have been. And I'm supportive of it. I have to take their board's word for that, that's the best way to use it.
I would like to consider a motion of $20,000, and I'm only withholding that 5 because knowing that we have the issues at the firehouse that we could use this money for if we can't get that darn boiler repaired. We may want to hold a little back, or then we don't have the $88,000 for the parks. And we have approved a little bit less for other people than they had requested.
So I'll make the motion for,
Sorry, ask one question.
Terry has a question.
Are you planning to use all of it?
And that's.
Oh, boy. Okay, I'm done.
There.
Okay, Matthew, go ahead and make your motion.
I would make the motion to, allocate $20,000 of ARPA funds to the Department McCullough House.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
Hope
Chris.
that helps, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
It's a big,
I almost
help.
feel embarrassed that we can't do it all, but there's
You know,
always other shoes to drop.
I totally understand, and I've been in your shoes, and well, not your shoes, but I totally understand, and I really appreciate this. This actually is a huge help for us.
You're welcome, and thank you for your patience and hanging in there.
Sure. Have a great night, everybody.
All right.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, we are a little behind our schedule by 10 minutes, but Mark, the floor is yours.
Mine's really quick. Because we're still in the early stages.
Okay.
The initial thought was that $80,000 should cover, and that was 2 conversations early on,
Mhm.
prior to when the world got even crazier than it was a year ago, with gas prices and everything else, which, as we all know, pretty much shot everybody's budget with a huge hole. So the rough estimate, because that's the stage we're at right now, and that Ron Time broke down for the deal. He said we're looking at close to 140 to do well field. And the initial conversation, now that's a rough estimate. So he said it'd be really hard to do any kind of a educated estimate without at least spending money on engineering.
and that was included in that 140 was, he said you could spend anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 just in engineering. So I'll run through all the numbers that I've got so far, which include some numbers for Lions Park. Actually, I'm glad you're here, because some of this was a conversation we had. And other things that we were hoping that 80 would touch upon, and really, I thought that would have been plenty for everything, not even close.
Could you just briefly run through what you would be doing at Wellingfield?
Oh, sure, yeah,
I
no,
don't
it's gonna be
really-
part of this. I just
Okay,
want to throw a
thanks.
number out there, because I know
Good.
absolutely. I'll start with the small first, and then we'll work our way through, and then obviously questions. Some of the issues at Lions Park, which are some of the smaller things, basketball goals need replaced, standards, backboards, hoops, the whole bit. The ballpark estimates there, we can spend anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000 for that. I would have to look at the equipment before giving you an educated guess on what would be appropriate. Obviously, for a park like that, we're probably not going with the $750 per, because then we'll be buying it every other year. Resurfacing of the skateboard equipment. It's starting to really wear down, so it gets more and more slippery. There's a coating, it's almost like a roll-on paint type coating that you do. Makes it more safe for riders. That actually wasn't as bad as I thought. That would cost us roughly $800 for the material. It's roughly 4 gallons of paint, shipping, and there's some cleaning that can be done. The person from American Ramp Company, which is a company who went through and installed the equipment, said that they would come and do it. But he said most people do it themselves. It's a fairly easy process. It's just like painting anything else. It's a 2-part epoxy though, so there's a mixing that has to be done and put on. And it takes a good solid day. So we would have to determine, and I'll get the numbers for if somebody, he said he wouldn't even give me numbers. It would all depend on when we did it, but he said it's really expensive for him to send somebody, because you're paying for their time, mileage, and everything, so the number can get a little crazy. So that wasn't that big a concern. There was also an issue with one of the center pieces of equipment. It's laptop, which heats up, that's heavy equipment, and there's a little lip that's developed as you enter and exit. That center piece that has ramps on 4 sides. I had a call to an attorney who did the original paving. The idea we thought would be you could just kind of shave it down, because it's a good, it's probably 3 to 4 inch pad that's down. He said that probably isn't doable, and that he would have to actually go and look at it. And he's just said he's too busy to even look at it right now, which is fine. We'll get to the end of the season. So I'll have some better numbers on that. He said it shouldn't be a crazy number, but it's going to cost something. And then, I said the Lions Club was willing to do some
park.
Yep. So
we're going to get the park and have it distributed.
Yep. So the wood chips that go under the playground equipment and the swings. Tough thing with that is, I'm not sure which company you're going through. Believe it or not, they have to be a certified chip. You can't just chip your own wood and put it. It's got to be specifically meant for playgrounds in order for your insurance company to cover you on it. And the Lions were incredibly generous in saying they would take care of that part on their end. And I said that we'd be happy to take care of the rest.
Yeah.
Once we get that together, I told them I'd actually bring my new tractor over there. I'm just ready. Give me a chance to play.
I was saying, you're just looking for something to do, right?
Exactly. I need some projects. One of the smaller issues, George Largo contacted me a few weeks ago and mentioned that he's willing to, he had heard they have a great appreciation of Water Spark. And they've bought several picnic tables in the past. They're picnic tables, so they're starting to deteriorate.
They're falling apart. I can tell you as I walk by there most days of the week with my daughter.
Yeah.
When it's not raining.
Right, so they're starting to deteriorate.
Yeah.
One of his questions are we doing yearly maintenance on them, which would obviously extend their lifespan. I'm pretty sure we haven't been.
Right.
as we know, we're fairly well stretched with the two-man team we've got.
Yeah.
But he did say he'd be willing to purchase a couple more.
Okay,
He said it would, at this point, more than likely be in the spring. So he's gonna do some research, figure out what he's willing to put up, and then, I said I had a conversation.
Yep.
And if we're looking for something more durable that would be longer lasting, we could then decide that we want something a little more durable, and then we would chip in the rest if that's what we so chose. Or he would just cover what he's willing to cover and we'd go with that. And then maybe come up with a maintenance plan for him, so we can
okay.
see if we can make him last a little longer. And I'll follow up with him on that. So lastly, gets us to Wellingfield, which the original conversation I had, we were looking at maybe 60,000.
Yeah,
They could do that, and I think, you know, 80 then should cover everything. Ron's estimate was roughly, you're looking at $20,000 for engineering, and then a good 100 to 120 for all the different steps, scraping it, screening it, filling in the base, leveling it out, respreading, seeding. So they said that would get you the whole way. They said, again, without engineering, after we do the engineering, it could be down to 80. We go higher, because there's just no way to tell unless you get, and just knowing a little bit about it, until you drill that core, you have no idea what you're up against. We're hoping that, you know, we get the best case scenario. So if we've got 88 that we haven't spent yet, if we want this project done, I'm willing to do the legwork to find the other. I know we've got 30 in Park and Rec, and I hate to see us.
yeah, that's what I was just looking for, to see what we
We'll
have.
probably have 30 in by this time next year. The other thing is, we're probably looking at
35.
we've got 35. So by next year, we have to.
Yeah.
40-ish,
Yeah.
maybe 45, depending on what we have for other expenses. I don't think it's responsible to zero that out.
Yeah.
So.
I
I'll fall
wonder,
back in my lap to,
do you know if there's any sort of grants?
yeah, there's gotta be some out there. I
There's
agree
gotta
with
be
that.
some.
I'm
We
sure
should
there's
look
something
at-
out
yeah.
there. I gotta start, thinking that we had
Yeah,
what we needed. I hadn't even thought about that yet. But I also know that, the rec center and, run by the YMCA now, they've reached out to me for using that space in the past.
yeah,
And we've always said yes, and as you all know, I am as opposed as anything to charging people to use our fields.
right.
I think, our responsibility is to make those places available to the people who already pay taxes. So why we don't charge people to walk dogs on it, we don't charge people to play frisbee, why should we charge organizations to use it if they're serving the community that support those fields already? So that could be a revenue stream. I could go to the rec center, the town of Bennington, would probably come to the town of Shasberry, because I would love to see it used by the South Shire soccer. The baseball, which is North Bennington, Shasberry, Bennington. That is probably one of the best assets we have in our area that is not used at all.
Can it be used in the condition that it is, though?
So in the condition it's in, the baseball field needs to be redone anyway.
Okay,
You cannot get a regulation, anything else on that field. I can't get a soccer field on there or a cross field on there. That bank, the best you can do, which I used to use it for when I coached that level, is for roughly a U10, which is 10 and under, because they play on a shorter field anyway with smaller holes. I've measured every which way I possibly can. There's no way to get a regulation field in there. Because the baseball field right now is turned into a skin field, which means they took out all the grass. It's a clay-based surface. Benefit to that is any level can play on it once you get a portable mound. With a grass infield, your grass infield determines the size of the field you have. You can't change that size, which means you can't change the distance between bases. Little League, softball, and senior league baseball and up all play on different size, different distance between bases, and different distance between mound to home plate. So the skin infield, any level can use it. You just have to get a portable mound system. The mound can be moved forward or back. It's a higher or lower, depending on whether it's a older league or younger league. So.
and that's nowhere in these.
No, because that's something that I've had conversations with Bennington, the baseball.
Okay,
Those are things that they would be willing if that field were available to them, that's something that we could work
Okay.
together with on that. So those, if we get the field to where we get it to, I got into agreement when I ran North Shore Soccer was with, they were asking for us to pay to use Howard Park and Shasberry. I said, we operate on a negative budget every year.
Yeah.
We give things away, but my commitment to them was give us a project every year or we'll help do something. Our strength is our manpower. We'll get volunteers, we'll clean things up. So we'll make the park better. We built the storage shed there for soccer, but I don't even know if it's used for soccer anymore, but they also use it for maintenance there too. So that's what I asked for anybody that uses the field. If they require anything, then find the resources to get those things that we need. We can also have a commitment to, I think we mow it now maybe every other week, which is not suitable for use for athletics. If you need the field, you want to use it, you have nothing, find somebody to mow your field for you. I've mowed Howard Park with a hand mower because I couldn't fit a ride mower on my trailer. So, we do what we have to do to get these things done. But again, if we could turn that into the wiffle ball league that uses it right now.
Yeah.
Was approached by, they get teams from Maine, New Hampshire, New York. The national tournament that in the league they compete in is run in New York. They want to run a national tournament at our field and Rolling Field in North Bennington.
That'd be great for the area.
Event. It's a national network type event. And they're willing to do that on the field we have now because it's wiffle ball, they can't.
Yeah.
So the field has potential to really become, just like Park McCullough, just like every other thing that we have here that's done in such a VAE. All the things that we have, all the assets we have are only as good as we can continue to make.
Since we are pursuing the municipal planning grant, and a component of that, a big component, is going to be the assets in the village. We absolutely, I'll make sure when we're doing that, because we should include that as an asset of the village.
Yeah. One of the biggest selling points of that, and I think that's why they want this wiffle ball league is so in love with the situation. They travel with their families, and they're coming from a long way. Yeah. And when you look right across the parking area and you see Lake Erin, they know that they have entertainment for their kids, and so during these tournaments, we are supporting Lake Erin. That's right. They're supporting, and they do everything themselves. All they do is they call me, and they know what the schedule is, and we go from there. So they're fantastic, and we hope to keep that relationship going for a long time. So I guess my question is this something that, and I'm willing to do, the extra to get some of those extra funds. It's probably going to take me a while, but we're looking at the potential of right around this time of year is when we'd love to get this project underway because, like I said, that wiffle ball is done for the year. This is the time when we're on great ground, get it in, get it seeded, and that gives it a chance to catch seed, go dormant, and really take off in the spring. So I've got a few ideas of where I'm going.
Okay.
For money, Bennington College will be one. Anybody willing to give money can certainly have first dibs at use of that field. So that's kind of where we're at. But that 80 that we earmarked, if there's 88 left, if we want to get this project done, I would say that's spent. Knowing that I wasn't coming here for an answer, because I already need some hard numbers and commitment, so.
I am all in favor of going forward, personally, but I'm only one. I'd love to hear what anybody else would think.
You're still talking about 80 from us, a commitment for 80 from us.
If you got 88, it would be 88. So let me tell you,
it is.
So with that, so the commitment from you now is just to say that you'll at least reserve it for a period of time. If I don't come back in 6 months and say I've got this, then you look at me and say, then go find money somewhere else. And you start finding other people that may earmark, or tell me what we have to do to pare the project down.
Yeah.
I don't want you to commit the money to me right now and then me not follow through on my end. I will only take the commitment that you'll at least keep it in mind until I get an idea of whether we can raise the rest or get.
I'm all in favor of because we have until 2024 to even earmark it. So I am in favor of waiting. We talked about this from the very beginning, that we needed a significant chunk for here. And so I'm all in favor of not giving any more away until you have first crack at it.
Well, Scott had his
question
hand
next.
up. here.
Yeah, the point you brought up about the baseball field over here, will those items, would they normally fall under the budget that we have for parks? Or in other words, ARPA money, it sounds like those are maintenance and, you know, like coating the
The
structures.
small things.
The smaller things.
Yeah, so the structure.
The wood chip.
None of this money, oh, sorry. Are you talking about Lions Park?
Yeah, Lions.
Oh, Lions Park.
Yes.
You know, typically, yeah, some of those things fall under, and because Welling Field is what it is, and because the Lions have been so generous and have such commitment to that park, I'm now thinking all the other money is gonna go there.
Yeah.
These things will get done.
So that 88,000,
That's
none
all
of it
in
is
the Lions Park
for,
will
is
take up
for
part.
Lions.
The Lions Park will take up part. We'll do those, but that is money. Those are the type of things that in my mind, and I think the idea of this was, those are things that we can
Do it in the normal budget.
with Park and Rec.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
When I took over Park and Rec, it just blew my mind how much it costs to do anything. So it's always hard to spend money on, you know, $3,000-4,000 a year, $3,000-4,000 there, because then you can never do a $40,000 to $50,000 project.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been I've been a little bit sitting on this money until we got to a comfortable position. 35-40 is a comfortable position. I think I would be very in favor of and would present to the board, once I get some hard numbers, dumping $10,000 in the spring right away to get that up and running, because we got such a great partner with the Lions, who are, you know, doing their share and take care of that. It's only fair that we do our end.
Take a hard look at the basketball thing. We actually stiffened them up, supported them, put chains on the loops and everything, put rubber foam around the poles. So I think it's all set. You may want.
Okay, so I'll take a look at the standards.
Yep.
I think even if nothing else, the backboards and rims could probably use an upgrade, but I'll look at them, but that would significantly drop that price. If we're talking about backboards and rims, we can get the whole thing done for less than $1,000, I assume. But I will take a look at it. Thank you.
Tara?
Well, did you want your?
Well, my question is, being new to this business, is there an overall view of parks and recreation for this community that where this rises to that level of priority to want to spend this money? You've been giving us some opportunities that are there, but are they opportunities that, how do they serve this community in particular?
Well, it serves this community and every other community around us. I've been a coach since I've been 16 years old, and in this area, and I'll tell you right now, there are not enough fields in this area to adequately serve all the different sports and other activities that happen in the fields. We're always looking for new fields, and to be honest, it always blows my mind how much of it gets shot down. Because people are worried about a little bit of increased traffic on the road, or I don't even want to get started on the high school field, because that broke my heart. We had an opportunity to put in a field that could be used 10 times more than it is now, serve a greater community, and we let political reasons stop it, and it was awful. If you want to make this community attractive to families moving in, then you've got to give those type spaces. Drive by there anyway, you see more people walking their dogs and using that field. If we made it a good, usable field, I will guarantee you that it would do nothing but help this community. And it helps I am not a borders person. You know, my community is not just North Bennington. I work with kids in Hoosick Falls, New York. I work with kids in Bennington and Shaftesbury and Manchester and well, I mean, we got to look outside just our community and see how it helps the greater community, and sports fields are something that you just can't get enough of.
Right, but I guess that's the best I'm gonna get at the moment, but it seems to me that it's a lot of money. I've never actually watched anything there. So I've always wondered if it's in use or can be used.
That's the problem. It's not in a condition that it can be used properly.
Right.
The last time it was really used properly was probably 20 years ago, if not more. The senior league, and then at that time they had it was called the Bennington Reds, was kind of a traveling baseball team. That was their home field, and it was fantastic. It was a beautiful field because it was just used for baseball. That's our problem right now. Is as it sits, it's a baseball, softball, or lily field, and nothing else.
And you're talking about adding the ability to do soccer and lacrosse.
Yeah, in fact, we already own the soccer goals. We own the soccer nets. They're in my garage. They haven't been put on in the last few years. COVID kind of stopped that. And then just the fact that, you know, it just can't be set up to be used properly.
We are over time, but we will take your question and
Just real quick.
yours.
So you got a number from Pembroke. I'm curious to know if this is something that we're gonna put out to bid.
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, that was the first thing Lon said. So
Yeah.
first step would be probably getting the engineering done.
Okay.
And again, I don't think I would even do that until I had a commitment
Mhm.
of at least part of the money moving forward. So the next step would be to get some engineering done, because then we could get, and I would assume we'd look for, 3-4 bids on it, or put it out to bid as many as we can. I was gonna reach out to Jerome Construction, because I know they do this. Ron said he would be interested in putting one in, and he also mentioned Herman would be one that would probably put a bid in. I know Norm had a couple that he had mentioned way back when I first started, so we would definitely, but this would not be a, hey, can you do this and get it done, we would put out a bid.
Short answer.
Doug, you had a comment or a question?
Yeah, so no, just to piggyback off what Mark was saying to answer Ray's question with field usage, having 2 kids that are one still in youth sports and another one who's gone through. Like Mark said, you can't find enough fields. If it's basically an almost, if you build it, they will come. Yeah. You have people looking for lacrosse, soccer, baseball all the time. Right. The number of travel teams that are right over the border in New York, in Manchester, a little bit in Bennington. So if you have that field availability, and then like Mark said, teams and parents see that Lake Perrin is right there, the usage of the field, I think, would go through the roof.
It would contribute to usage of Lake Perrin as well.
I
agree.
And I think the entire community.
Yeah. And beyond that, this goes, I don't want to stop talking because I know you got other things to do. This is not just a sports field either. If there are other, I remember, I think Howard Park had a dog show they used to do every year, because I used to have to not have soccer that weekend. So you could open it up to other, as long as it were appropriate for the field and didn't do damage. We allow the fireworks in that field for Lake Perrin when they use it. So it's a field that can be used beyond sports, as long as it were, we're not going to let RVs and 4-wheelers out there, but certainly it can be used for other things to benefit the community and other organizations. So.
Thank you.
Just a quick comment.
Yes.
The history behind Welling Field was amazing. Back in the 20s and 30s, there were baseball games there every single night.
They had
wow.
They had stadium seating there.
Really?
If you ever
That's great.
been to in Applejack Field in Manchester, their turf soccer field there at Bennington Warrant Park. Yeah. That's stadium seating behind home plate. There was semi-pro baseball play there.
Well, as we go through our review of records, maybe we'll come up with some of those photos and things.
Yeah, Larry Powers' books.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would happen with, for that kind of usage, you'd expect that there would be, these days, some parking issues.
You know what, there's a decent amount of parking.
Mhm.
You'd be surprised at the parking that is up in behind home plate. There's plenty of parking there, parking along the road, parking at the fish access. Parking shouldn't be an issue. We're not looking at.
We can delve into this when additional planning comes, but at this point, this is it on this discussion.
Thank you.
We're beyond our time.
And I'm happy I'll come back and give you some updates.
Thank you.
Any kind of
Wonderful.
information I get, I'll be back.
Even though it was double our estimate, we're still happy to hear.
Well, we're happy to
Thank
hear
you.
you're willing to work on it.
Yes.
Good to see you,
Yes.
Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
I am going to jump over the agenda. I'm going to jump over to the water department since Art has been so kindly sitting here, and you may have the floor. Thank you.
So I'm Art Whitman. I'm chairman of the Shasberry Select Board. And in Shasberry, the water board is the select board. So I come to you with my water board hat on, okay? If we understand your bylaws that how your water board operates, it looks like it's a 5-member board. One person is either reappointed or replaced every year, so there's a 5-year rotation. It specifies that at least 4 members have to be from North Bennington.
Correct.
It doesn't say where the other one has to come from. At this point, Mr. Joe Herman who lives in Shasberry, is on the water board. He was never appointed by either the select board or the water board to represent Shasberry. In fact, he doesn't forward our wishes or our policies to the water board, with the Shasberry Water Board. So he really does not represent Shasberry. He lives in Shasberry.
Okay.
He knows Shasberry water system like nobody else. And so I can understand why North Bennington would like to have him on the board, but he does not represent Shasberry, okay? So if it's your wish or if it's your idea that somebody from Shasberry should be on the board, we use about 16% of the water that goes through the filtration plant. Then I guess we would like you to come to us and we would give you the name of a person that and their credentials about if you thought it was appropriate to have a Shasberry representative on the board.
Okay. I'm just making notes.
Yep. Otherwise, we kind of think it's like taxation without representation.
Any comments from trustees?
So this is something you would desire as a town?
Absolutely.
Good, okay.
Well,
Matthew?
yeah, so it's not in our hands, Art, to, the way the charter speaks is that the water board brings to us 2 names for nominees. And with some latitude, we can either accept one of them or we could deny either of them with some, with some cause of concern, but the water board chooses their members.
Yep, I've seen it happen. I understand what's up. But I think the trustees should take a position on this.
But we can't by charter.
Okay.
Unless you have other opinion about what is in our capacity and what isn't. I can assure you that the last 20 some years that I've been involved, it's been made clear that that's the process.
Okay.
Have you spoken to anyone on the water board?
Have I spoken?
Have you? Yeah, okay. Just curious.
That's one of the problems is the water board will not communicate or mediate or anything. In fact, we're in a very expensive lawsuit right now, which is very disturbing.
Which would be another reason that we shouldn't be taking any action outside of what is prescribed in charter at this point.
True.
But your comments are so noted, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
If you want to communicate with me, I suggest you please use my selectman's email address rather than my personal one. That's all.
Sure.
Okay, I will forward this. May I keep this?
Oh, absolutely.
Then I will forward this to the rest of the,
Myself.
Yes, I will forward this to the committee.
Yep, okay.
All right,
Thank you for your time.
thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
And I appreciate all your other help and comments throughout.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I know it was a
Okay.
good night for you to be
We,
here.
we are, okay, let's see. I want to go back, other water updates, just quickly. They're reading meters in advance of the bills that come out October 1st. That was what Ted told me, and I did not bring my notes. I believe that was the only comment that I was going to make on the or the only update from the water department on their projects. So I will move now to the back to the Development and Review Board and the Planning Committee. Do we have any updates from
DRB did not
DRB?
meet this month, and
Okay.
planning committee would be you or Matthew.
Yes, Planning Committee is meeting. Thank you again, Art. Planning Committee is meeting Wednesday, September 21st here at 7 p.m. and agenda will be posted in the various places. And that should be out by Friday, that agenda. Okay. Moving along, new business. Is there new business?
Do we have any citizens?
No. Any new business? No. Old business, I was going to talk about the records management project update in lieu of time. I will defer that to the next meeting. And I'll bring that back up then. We do have an executive session. So I will make a motion that we enter executive session at 8:53.
Second.
Thank you. And it is for legal matters. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can we close that door?
Yep. Okay, Cat TV, I'm going to,
When we come out of session, we have one motion that will be needed. And, I forgot one small piece of new business, so let me mention that before we go to executive session. And that was, I sent this to trustees. The Lake Perrin is pursuing a grant. And I sent you that little letter of support. They just, the grant requires or requests letters of support from the community. Do the trustees have any issue if I sign that letter?
No.
None.
Nope.
Thank you. That will be done. Okay.
all right.
We are back in regular session, entertaining a motion.
I will make a motion to authorize our clerk to
Sign the resolution.
to sign the resolution that allows the water department to continue in their process of litigation at their discretion until at least through the process of mediation.
Okay.
I have a quick point. It says secretary
Yes.
and Matt said clerk.
Oh,
Secretary, yes.
I'm
So-
sorry. Thank you.
I don't want there to be, we're throwing this page out because of this mistake.
Thank you,
So-
Scott. She wears many hats. but
I know, same person, I'm sure. So,
but
and
so
then I'll
yes,
second.
Okay, Scott was seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I am making a motion to adjourn at 9:26.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you, David.
Okay.
Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.